everyone. I have come up with another important topic in the course English for Career Development, a language course for engineering graduates. By the way, I am Sudheepthi Dondapati, working as an associate professor in the Department of Placement and Training from the Institute of Aeronautical Engineering College. So, the title of the topic today is Nonverbal Communication. So let me recapitulate what all happened in the previous session, what all we discussed in the previous session, so that you can connect effectively with the present class or present discussion. So in the previous class, we discussed the important elements or the aspects of communication skills. We understood the basics of communication skills and we tried to focus on the importance or the significance of verbal communication skills. Verbal communication or it's kind of like it's a kind of a presentation where you take the notice of all the key ingredients like verbal communication or important aspects or the tools or the barriers or the important aspects like sender or encoding decoding barriers. What are the barriers that you need to take care of all when you are communicating? So we discussed all these things in detail. So now in today's class, I want to focus on the importance of non-verbal communication skills. So the importance of communication skills is basically all about or it depends on the important aspects of this communication skills. So what are the verbal communication skills and non-verbal communication skills? So in non-verbal communication skills, you need to understand the meaning of it and then the key ingredients or the important materials or the important aspects of non-verbal communication skills. So you might take it very easily with a pinch of salt thinking, oh, non-verbal communication is so easy that you don't have to use your verbal communication. No, it's not so easy, my dear listeners. You will convey many important things to the listener you are communicating to. So what happens as a result with the type of body language or with the type of non-verbal communication you use, definitely you make an impact on the minds of the listeners, either a good impact or a bad impact, or positive or negative. So you need to be very careful when you are communicating through non-verbal elements. So you should be able to comprehend the essence of non-verbal communication skill or non-verbal communication before you start doing it. So the meaning is non-verbal communication is the non-linguistic transmission or transmission of information through visual, auditory, tactile or kinesthetic channels. So it is all about you communicating or you are communicating to a person, for example, with body language, by using body language. So you use all these visual, auditory, tactile and kinesthetic. That means the things which one could perceive, the things which one could sense or the things which one could feel it. So you are able to use all these sorts of aspects when you are communicating with your listener. So as a result, you are conveying some important information even without using your words. So something which you can see, something which you can perceive, something which you can hear or listen, or something which you can perceive. So these are all the important aspects of non-verbal communication. So now, body language is something you keep hearing now and then, right? Body language, that means body has a language or does a language it has something to say. Body language is all about a type of non-verbal communication in which physical behavior as opposed to words is used to express. That means you use your physical behavior. So by means of hands or gestures, by means of expressions or by means of your movements, body movements, by means of your signals, cues, all these different signals are used to convey your information in addition to verbal communication. So now, gestures play very important role. Postures play a very significant role. Facial expressions are also very important. Now, gestures, postures, facial expressions, all three together form important part of body language or nonverbal communication skills. Now, you can see it on the screen that you see some hands, thumbs up, gestures, one, superb, so many expressions. So these gestures are nothing but some emblems that you are conveying. Okay, so emblem is nothing but a deliberate body movement or movements that can translate your signals into speech. That is, could be thumbs up or could be win or wave or saying hello. So these are some emblems. You use it for conveying body language or your information through this sort of body language. So you could say like this, or you could say wave hands. And as you can see it on the screen, there are several types of emblems you can perceive. Okay, so when you say hello, you use one type of emblem. When you say all the best, you use one type of emblem. When you say okay, you use one type of emblem. So these are all important emblems. You use it. For example, by mistake, instead of waving your hand, if you use a wrong emblem like this, your body language is wrong. That is, your physical behavior conveys something very wrong, and thereby your listener won't be able to understand. So this is something very important you need to be very mindful about. And then illustrators. This is another illustrator or illustrators. This is another aspect in body language or non-verbal communication. So you can see they illustrate your information. You can see it on the screen, right? The person is showing, pointing some direction, and then he's showing some his gestures conveying some important information. So he doesn't have to speak it, but then he can show it through all these illustrators, right? They are nothing but body cues that support or reinforce speech and direction or pointers. So these are nothing but pointers that one can use it in order to convey the information. So for example, if you can point it to any direction by using all these things, illustrators. If you have to convey the information, you can go ahead, you can use an illustrator. Oh, this is the way you have to go, you can use any illustrator. So all these body cues are very important in communicating to the listener. So this forms an important part of body language or nonverbal communication. And then another important aspect is regulators. So these are something very important. You need to be very mindful of that. So what are these regulators? So regulators are nothing but you move your eyes, you nod your head, you can show several eye movements without speaking. So you can nod your head when you are saying. Some people very 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 surprisingly, they nod their head, okay, so in a wrong way when they have to say yes. Instead they say yes, so they nod it in an opposite direction. So that conveys completely a wrong sense. So you need to say, when you say, many people don't know about this. So if you have to say yes, you convey like this, yes. Instead you say, you move your head, or you twirl your head in such a way that you say yes. So that conveys a wrong sense. So you need to be very mindful when you say yes, no. So when you meet foreign nationals or international people, then when they know you nod yes saying like this, and when you say yes like this, or you move it in a haphazard way, then the meaning is lost. So you need to be very careful when you're using these regulators. And what are they? In order to define these regulators, I say that it is all about an intentional cue to influence turn taking, head nodding, and breaking eye contact. So in order to say something, by nodding your head, or you can, if you break your eye contact, that means you are no longer pay attention to it, or you are not even interested in that. Or if you can say, you can give turn taking devices. For example, you can take turns. So that means you are using your regulator to stop what you're conveying, and then you ask your person to take the turn. So these are some important regulators you need to be mindful of. And then adapters. This is another aspect of nonverbal communication. So what is this adapter, or what are these adapters? Adapters are something you convey it through your, moving your hands or fingers in a very informal way. So you need to be very, especially these are done involuntarily and unconsciously. So they are movements that satisfy personal needs and help you adapt to your environment. So unconsciously you think that you keep twirling your hair, or you keep rubbing your forehead, you keep poking your ears with your fingers. So you do all these things when you lose interest, or when you are no longer interested in some things. So in that case you keep doing all that. So they are very important. And a few more examples to show how adapters are used by a person. They are like tapping a pencil. You tap a pencil. When do you tap a pencil? When you are no longer able to guess the meaning, or when you want to emphasize on that, or when you are so much disgusted or something, you want to emphasize on it. So you tap a pencil, and then you your finger drumming one's finger. When do you do that? And maybe you're relaxing, or maybe you are showing some notes, musical notes, or maybe that you want to convey that these are how you can really sing a song. Like these are how you can really these are some important aspects that you need to think about when you are singing a song, because you drum your finger when you are in a leisure way, in a cool relaxing mode. Also, adjusting one's clothing, that you do it when you are not very confident. Okay, so involuntary you do it when you are very scared. So that is something that you do it. So it is also part of nonverbal communication. And playing with jewelry. This is often we do it, right? So we do it when we are not very serious about it. So by using all these things, what will happen? You are conveying some important information to the listeners, and that could impact your career. So you need to be very mindful of that. Unmindfully, focusing all these things, and unmindfully practicing all these things will certainly damage your career or your performance. So you need to be very important, and these are all informal way of performing your behavior. And some adapters, when commonly students take use during exams: twirling your hair, you twirl your hair, scratching your head, pulling your ear, and then rubbing your forehead. When do you do it? When you are not very much serious, and then when you can't answer it, when you cannot answer the question, you rub your forehead and you scratch your head. And then when you cannot hear somebody stopping saying something, and then you pull your ear. So when you do all these things, you are conveying very important information. So you need to be very mindful using it. And this is all part of nonverbal communication. So some affect displays. This is also another important part of nonverbal communication. So what are affect displays? So you have so many emotions on your face, right? So the expressions you carry it on the face. So you smile, you giggle, you nod your head, you yell, you scream, you smile, you show your anger. So different modes and different emotions that you keep on your face. So you need to be mindful of that, right? They are body movements which reveal our emotional state. So facial cues, these are facial cues, are the ways we reveal our feelings non-verbally. So in a formal context, be careful when you use all these expressions. And very often we observe all these things in a formal gathering. So these will really impact your career, I tell you, or your performance. And also closed posture or an open posture. These are very important things you should be really be mindful of. And see, when you stand in a closed posture, bend towards, with hunched forward position, that means you are very informal and you are not very serious and you are not very keen on listening to it. So you convey a sort of disinterestedness, or you are not very interested in what you are doing. So the listener who observes all these expressions or all these close postures that you carry will definitely get hurt, and they will have a sort of a wrong feedback or a wrong response. So when they have to give to you, so you need to be mindful, and the way you posture your body, it's with open posture when you stand, or with erect position when you sit, when you do it like that, and following all these important things, definitely you are conveying that you are listening to the person, you are the person who is communicating to you, and you're very serious and you're very attentive. So all these closed postures and body postures are to be observed carefully and are to be very mindful of. And also some facial expressions and gestures that you have it on your face when you are contented, and when you are asleep, when you're shocked, when you are surprised, when you are annoyed, when you're worried, when you're plotting, when you believe, when you are happy. So we have so many expressions, right? So you have to convey it properly. When you are unhappy, you give it another expression. So using wrong emotional expression or facial expression will definitely mislead the listeners. Okay, so you cannot behave, or you cannot carry out this facial expression as you wish in a formal gathering. So you need to be very mindful when you are doing it. So, and also these are some more important facial expressions. I have it for you on the screen. So you cannot do all this informal way of, or all these informal facial expressions, or something which you should be avoiding. You cannot do it in a formal setup. So we have to be mindful of that. In a serious tone, in a serious posture, in a serious mode, or in a serious mood, you will have to do it, or you will have to convey your information in this communication activity. So these are some important aspects or important elements that I want to bring to your notice. So following all these instructions, following all these strategies, following all the steps, you can communicate very effectively even though you are not using verbal communication. So this is all about non-verbal communication. Thank you.
Like, share and subscribe. Hit the bell icon for more updates.